Q&A panel that we're offering for individuals to get to know more about Newfield Network Coach Training and Personal Development course. Today we have 3 grads on the call, panelists. They will be answering questions. Today we have Vinay, Jennifer, and Adam joining us. They were all grads of the Newfield Network Coach Training course. You will be on mute throughout the call and off video, so you will only see myself and or the panelists. Thank you for joining the call today, and I look forward to supporting you by asking your questions to the panelists. Thank you. Jennifer, you want to go ahead and share? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to Newfield Network.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here. My name is Jennifer Einolf, and I live in Richmond, Virginia, and I graduated from Newfield in May of 2016. I was an interior designer in my most recent professional incarnation, and I knew that coaching was in my future and probably was my calling. And so I began to investigate schools and think in a fairly long-term way about where I was going to receive the training that I wanted. And I had narrowed my list down to three places, and there were 2 coaches that I really respected. One is someone I know here in town, and the other is my own mother. And I knew that they had both spoken in glowing terms about the school that they had attended, and so I approached each of them, and it turned out it was Newfield. And so I looked at my list, and it was on the list. It was something I'd already been interested in, so I went back and looked again and realized it was the right place. So we started in September of 2015, went to Boulder, sat in the room excited and smiling, and then had no idea the roller coaster ride that I was going on. I was there for professional development, and I probably knew I was there for personal development, but it turned out to be personally and professionally transformational. And we throw that word around a lot, but it was probably one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And I'm really happy to be here today to talk about what that journey was like and what the Newfield experience is and how it can transform other people's lives as well.
Thank you, Jennifer. Vinay, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to Newfield?
Thank you. So my name is Vinay Kumar, and I'm a leadership and executive coach. I do some internal work in the organization, and I also have external clients. And much of my work is working with various assessments in the leadership arena. I do quite a bit of coaching in the organizational settings, as well as deliver workshops based on leadership and focused on leadership and team development, both here in the US as well as internationally. And I finished Newfield back in early this year, though I got introduced to the ontology many years ago. And I wanted to experience Newfield because that's where it all originated from. So I came to Newfield. And for me, this work, why I'm so excited and so committed to the ontology and the work of Newfield, really on 3 levels. One, to me, it has a very personal benefit in terms of the human being that I am. And I know since I got into this work, I've grown as an individual from the inside out, and I'm much more effective in every aspect of my life. And people that know me, they tell me, Vinay, you have changed. And I'm saying there's change for the better. And I'm afraid to ask questions beyond that, but I take that as a compliment. And this has a real organizational focus because application, because it applies to leadership and team development. When people learn this work, they become more powerful and more effective leaders, better team members, and organizations simply produce better results. They have better collaboration, better engagement, better morale, just everything is better. And of course, on a global basis, I believe as we grow, as organizations grow, we have a better world. So I cannot think of a single domain or a single aspect of our lives where this work is not applicable. It just absolutely is and is powerful. It is the most powerful body of work that I have come across in my own journey of many, many years.
Thank you very much, Vinay. Adam?
Hello, my name is Adam Mutschler. I'm based out of Washington, D.C., and I graduated with Jennifer at the same time from Newfield in 2016. What brought me to the Newfield program was my deep interest and just unrelenting passion of working with people. I worked at Apple for 7 years in retail, but did a lot of training, mentoring, and development. And then I worked at a startup in Chicago for a couple years. And no matter what my role was, it always started to shift towards working with the people on the teams that we had. And I was looking for a layer of skills and experience that would really enhance that work. And I've been familiar with Newfield for a long time. I like to say that I'm a legacy member of the community, as it's a program that my mom, Leah Kadar, went through. And so I was familiar with Newfield, and I joined back in 2015 and went through the coaching training program. And one of my biggest takeaways, one of the biggest moments for me, was just witnessing the depth of human capacity and experience and feeling it at such a visceral level that I was not even conscious was possible. And I think that has enriched so much of my work and my relationships since going through Newfield.
Thank you, Adam. And I want to thank all of the panelists for being here and supporting Newfield today by sharing your journey. So we'll begin with, let's see, we have Deb. And hi, Deb. I know we've been in conversation. And she's saying, she's from Laramie, Wyoming, by the way. She's saying, I'm considering signing up for the program beginning in March. So I'm interested in how it has shaped your coaching and professional work since you have completed it. Vinay, would you like to start?
Sure, absolutely. So, you know, for me, before I got into the work of ontology in Newfield, I was still coaching at that time. And much of my coaching was focused on the actions we need to take differently to produce outcomes. And that is effective to a degree, but there's a whole universe of different possibilities we miss when we don't bring our perspective into question, our interpretations, how we look at the world. And for me, Newfield really took me deep on an inner journey of my own growth and gave me tools to not just look at what's out there and look at a different action, but look at how I'm being different in the world. How's my client being different in the world and how they're looking at things, and is there a different way of looking at it? So in a nutshell, the tools really help us shift from within ourselves so we can see more possibilities. We can change in a way that the change sticks. We can take more effective action. So it's a much more of an inside-out approach to me, which is much more effective and is much more lasting. So not only have I grown, but as a coach, I'm much more effective with my clients. And then secondly, with this body of work, as I shared, you know, we had developed workshops and long multi-session programs, which I'm now delivering both in the United States as well as overseas. I travel quite frequently to UK and Israel and India and other countries, and that whole world opened up for me thanks to this body of work and to Newfield, which was not available to me beforehand. So it's changed my life, and it's helped me change my clients' life or help support them in changing much more powerfully and more effectively.
Thank you, Vinay. And Jennifer, would you like to answer that?
I'd love to. When I went to Newfield, I probably wouldn't have been able to admit it, but I had gotten to a point in insufficiency. I think we have an epidemic of insufficiency, imposter syndrome, that I wasn't ready to make promises to myself or anybody else because I was convinced I would disappoint. And that's paralyzing. And when I went into this learning environment that wasn't like other learning environments I had been in, I was able to let go of learning what I set out to learn and instead learn all there was to learn. It unleashed creativity and curiosity in an unexpected way. It was sometimes really challenging for me because I really excel in the standard learning environment with the syllabus and we had a syllabus and we had guidelines, but there was a lot of room for, I don't know, go figure it out, or what do you think, or where is this going to go, and collaborative learning with other people in our cohort. And it really, it unblocked that insufficiency. For the first time in my life, I really understand why I am enough. And when I work with clients now, I have my own coaching practice, Bold Whisper. And when I work with clients and I see that those shifts happen and that unlocking start to happen, and the tools that I learned at Newfield, the mindset, the expansion, the curiosity, the the flexible focus. It's just so delightful to be able to focus all of that energy on a client and on having them have a similar experience. It's amazing. So that when I said it was personally and professionally transformational, I love that Newfield spends the first part having you experience the methodology, having you experience it so that you know it down to your DNA, and then talks about, now how do you use this to coach. It's a very intuitive way of being able to explain things that sometimes there just aren't words to explain. And that professional development makes sense because it's built on that foundation of personal transformation, personal development. So they're locked together. You can't do one without the other.
Thank you, Jennifer. Adam, do you have anything you say about that question, or would you like me to go on?
Just really briefly, for me, part of the Newfield journey was acquiring skills to coach. So going into it, that was my intention coming out of it. And I would say that definitely happened through the program. But one of the things that I didn't expect was the learnings that I got through Newfield and how I applied them and used them and continued to evolve that learning with personal relationships and also in growing my business. I mean, I'm coaching professionally. I work with groups, I work with individuals, but learning to look at myself and say, am I generating the results that I want? What are the actions that I'm taking? And looking at some of the models that I learned in Newfield and being able to look at my effort and say, am I moving in the direction that I want and need to be moving? And I don't think that I would have been able to look at that, assess it, and make adjustments prior to my work with Newfield.
Thank you very much, Adam. I noticed that we have an interesting question here. Carol is typing in, and she currently is an ICF PCC coach. So thank you for joining us today, Carol. And her question is, what programs offered by Newfield would be benefits to her? Who would like to answer that question? Yes, Adam.
I can only answer this as an observer of one of my peers in my cohort, but there was someone that came through the program with Jennifer and I that, by all accounts, from my perspective, had transcended to the top of coaching and consulting. Like, they had an incredible business in a lot of metrics, financially, busy schedule, all the metrics that we like to use these days. And I was constantly surprised by their interest in learning more and adding another layer to their work and challenging themselves, even though they were, again, at the top of the pyramid by a lot of accounts, to really just push themselves a little further, take themselves a little deeper, because they were entering into an experience at Newfield that was well outside of their body of knowledge. And that was just impressive for me to stretch in that way. And so, again, as I can't say it from personal experience, but as an observer, seeing someone put themselves in that learning situation and taking that, and we've had lots of conversations since Newfield and how they've brought that into their work. It's inspiring for me and something that I hope to challenge myself with whenever I feel like I know, I feel like I know everything, which I hope I never feel that way, to put myself in that learning shoes again. So I saw that, and maybe that applies to your question, Carol.
Thank you very much. Jennifer?
Yeah, just to add a short little bit of flavor to what he was saying. Our cohort was very varied, and my understanding is they all are. We had people from around the world, we had people from around the country, and we had people who were going to be applying these skills in a variety of ways, and we had experienced coaches. And that was part of what was rich about it, was you as a PCC coach would be bringing something to your cohort and adding that ingredient to the richness of the learning, because the cohort spending time with people with a variety of perspectives and experiences is part of what's valuable. And so you would learn, I believe, but you would also be of benefit. And there is something so wonderful about that sense of the community of learning that happens in that variety.
Thank you so much. And Vinay, unmute.
Yeah, Carol, I'm curious. I know because time is limited. I'm wondering, as a PCC coach, what drew you to this call? Because and what kind of coaching are you doing? Are you a business coach? Are you a career coach? I don't know. So I'm responding to your question based on very limited data. So it may be an uninformed response on my part. Though what I can share with you is I'm also an ICF PCC coach, and I've been coaching for a long time. And as a PCC, I went to Newfield. And as a successful coach, you've been coaching for a long time. I went to Newfield. What I can share is that, the Newfield body of work, it is so deep and is so transformative. As I shared earlier, our coaching is just more effective, whether it's organization, whether it's a business, whether it's personal, whether it's a life issue, whatever it is, these distinctions apply in every aspect of our life, every part of the world, every culture, it doesn't matter. This stuff applies everywhere in every conversation. So again, I don't have a context for your question, but what I can say is that as a PCC coach who went through Newfield, it just helped me become much more effective in coaching my clients and in terms of my own growth as well. So it is just, I can't imagine today coaching without it. I simply cannot.
Thank you, panelists. I do have a new question, and this one now is from, well, she doesn't give her name or his name. How did you manage the course within your life while working?
I'm happy to speak to that. It was interesting because we had a lot of distance, but during the distance learning phase. So the 2 weeks that you spend in Boulder are so immersive, but the distance learning phase in between, the about 4 months, there's work that you're setting out to do, and you have a lot of control over when that happens. You're in small groups and you are working with those small groups to find schedules that work for you. So there's a lot of flexibility in it, but it's really just this sense of a little bit at a time. You're observing what's happening in your regular life, and you're bringing that curiosity of, well, what is it about what we were just talking about that applies to this situation? So I found that it kind of wove itself into the rest of my life. There was work to do. There was a commitment to setting aside time and to scheduling around the commitments to be in the online classes and with the other groups. But I found that there were plenty of opportunities, plenty of flexibility. Most of my friends in the cohort had the same sense that they could make it work, and we all had different schedules.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else want to respond to that question, Vinay?
Sure. It is a degree of work and where you put into it. I think the question really comes down to is what's important and our priorities. And for me, this work is so important in my own life and my clients. I created space for it. I had to learn to say yes to this, and to say yes to this, I had to say no to something else. Life is about choices. It's about priorities. It's about what's important and what matters. So we all have a certain amount of time in the day. So the question so much is, yes, there is work involved, but how badly do you want it? And for the sake of what do you want it? If that's a big enough yes, we'll learn to say no to something else.
Thank you. Okay. So to the question about the PCC coach that has joined us, ICF PCC coach, she thanked you all. It was very helpful, the response she received. Let's see who else we have here. Deb again from Wyoming said, in hindsight, with post-Newfield coaching under your belt, is there anything you wished had been a part of the program that wasn't?
I can give this the tricky answer. More time with these people. more. It was really that amazing. I think the one piece to understand is that the personal transformational piece, the professional transformation piece, this is something that plays out over time. So there's the time you're spending in your Newfield training, and then you take it with you, and everybody, Adam and I still stay very close with our cohort, and everybody's, it's unfolding at a different rate for everyone. It's probably the one thing you're going to need to supply for yourself, if you will, is the information about what you're going to do with it, whether that's business training on how to run your own business, or how to incorporate it into whatever it is that you're doing. But that's good, because everybody took it and did something different with it. So we need different tools. I went and found those tools elsewhere, but what I got from Newfield was complete. So honestly, the trick answer is, I wish there'd been more of it. I wish it was something that was just going on all the time for the rest of my life.
Thanks, Jennifer. Adam?
The one thing that I would add, or it kind of is an addition to what Jennifer already mentioned, it is that structure that you carry out of it. And I think one of the big things is, what's your intention going into the program? So the intention for me was to enter into the coaching world and coach executives and work with startups. And so for me, the intention going in around business, sometimes my experience was that Newfield is actively working on adding and exploring how to help people in the business after. And when you say I'm reading the question, what did you wish had been a part of the program that wasn't? I would say that that's an area that's in development. And as an alum, it's something that I'm supporting Newfield in, because I'm very excited about it. And I want others that come through the program to have that roadmap and to experience a bigger support network coming out of the program. So if I had to pick something, just because I want to make sure that we're getting nice perspectives here, that's what I would pick. But it is being addressed, which I'm excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Vinay, did you have something you'd like to say?
I think really building on what Adam mentioned, I think Newfield does a great job in terms of applying the distinctions in the personal lives and personal domain. And I think that's the place one begins, because the power of this work really emerges when we apply it to ourselves first. The more effective we are in applying it to ourselves, the more effective we become in supporting others and applying it to their lives, whatever role they're in. I think Newfield is doing work on, and they're aware of it, they're working at it, is how do we transfer this work into more business and organizational focus. Leadership application, team application is definitely there, and it's work in progress from my perspective. And it's getting there.
Thank you. Would any of you want to speak to our offers after the program? I think at the level of our learning in action and other ways that people can connect once graduated from the course is important to speak to at this moment.
I would love to talk about that. That's one of my favorite things. And it actually, the next question I was reading ahead, it relates to this as well. We do a monthly learning and action call for the alumni. And the first few meetings of that was really this chance for us as alumni to hammer out what it is we wanted these calls to be. So they are alumni-led calls. We have someone volunteer to be the room opener who gets us all started, reminds us of the topic that we agreed on at the last meeting, and does a centering and gets us started. And the conversations are amazing. And I have met amazing Newfield graduates. I was at Converge, which is the ICF conference, the big international conference in DC. And this person walked up to me and said, "I can't believe there's not a screen between us." And it was somebody that I knew exclusively from the learning and action calls. We went out, my husband and son, and he and his wife went out to dinner, and it was delightful. So there's a connection that you have. I have met people in Richmond who are Newfield grads, and we have that connection. Adam and I, our cohort is particularly strong. We actually had a one-year reunion. Half of our cohort went back to Colorado just to hang out together this past May and to support each other. And we're on the phone with each other, and one of them's coming to visit me at Christmas. And sometimes it's business opportunities, sometimes it's personal. It is often about mastermind and being the designated basket case because you're struggling with some aspect of this and you have people to go to. So there's definitely this larger network. And our alumni group, our alumni efforts are growing, as Adam alluded, to build that connection between us, to 30 years of graduates, finding everybody and having them understand that connection is available. And so there's the podcast, there is the blog post, there's content coming out that helps you to stay connected, the learning and action calls to stay connected with other graduates to discuss very real topics. We've discussed a variety, a variety of topics of interest about how do you manage this aspect of it, or what's been the best avenue for growth about this certain thing in your coaching practice. And having that support is priceless.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think what you were going to say is that they could go on to the online Teachable once they become.
They become it, right? Yeah, you said it's a bit, but not yet.
So once you are in our program and you're a part of the Newfield community and graduate, we have an online Teachable platform where all the learning and action calls are recorded, and so that's where Jennifer was going to go. I could feel her. The other thing is, does anyone want to speak to the directory and the alumni directory?
I can speak to that a little bit.
Sure.
So you labeled it already, but there is an alumni directory that is live and is active and is growing, as Jennifer said, reaching out to 30 years worth of alum to get people aware that there is this new landing place for a list of graduates and the work that they're doing. And it's, I would say, a LinkedIn light as far as a profile goes to get a snapshot of what people are up to. And the alumni network for me is incredibly important because I am a second alum in my family. I have done a lot of work with people that have gone through the Newfield program. It's how I was able to even enter into this space. Other Newfield grads that had gone before me and had businesses and have grown their coaching practices and are looking for new Newfield coaches. So I think that there's an element of, if there's one recommendation that I can make to Newfield grads or future grads that are interested in professional coaching, it's find those people, whether it's through the directory on Newfield's website, or if you want to do a little more digging on something like LinkedIn, and reach out to them, because my experience has been they're very excited, they're very interested, and maybe there isn't a project immediately, but having that relationship and cultivating it will lead to something. And if it's work that you're interested in, it will probably lead to work, in my opinion.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I do have a question here that does speak to what you're talking about, and I'm just going to read it because you've already elaborated as a panelist on this. I think there might be some more to unpack inside of it. Deb says, I own my own consulting practice, and so this is a serious investment for me. Can you talk about ways that investment has been worth it to you, not just in terms of a financial ROI? You've already addressed many of the non-financial benefits. If there are any more, would you love to hear them? Would you like to go in? Yeah, Jennifer, please.
I'm sorry, I'm taking it. Just in terms of ROI, I just got the email yesterday that I am ready to take the test for ACC. So I graduated in May of last year, and I have more than earned what I spent. So in terms of one-to-one ROI, the financial is there. But I'll let everybody else speak to, I mean, we've talked about a lot of it, but just so you know, I've already more than paid for my course in coaching, doing coaching, just to be clear.
Vinay, was there something you'd like to speak to?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, you learn an amazing body of work and powerful distinctions, gain amazing knowledge. Not only will it help you be more effective in coaching and getting more clients, like my work is organizational focused. So I coach a lot of leaders in organizations. I coach teams. And because I'm more effective, I get more engagements. And secondly, I like delivering workshops. I like doing keynotes. I like speaking. And most of my speaking, most of my keynotes, most of my workshops are based on this work. And there's significant dollar revenue. For example, I'm flying to North Carolina tomorrow. I'm doing a 2-day engagement with an executive team of a software company. I'm taking them through a leadership assessment, a 360 instrument. And then I'm going to be taking a team through a multi-session program where we meet once a month for a certain number of months. And what I'm sharing with them is all based on what we learn in Newfield. And that engagement is significant dollar revenue. And I do many of them now that I wasn't doing before. So as you can learn to package this work in organizational context, begin to deliver it, many, many doors will open up for you. And you have a community, you can reach out to us and we will support you, and you can, and how to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Adam?
Just echo the ROI comment. Newfield for me is more than paid for itself in my coaching work. And then a little bit on what Vinay said, which I totally agree with, which is going through the program helps you connect with yourself more effectively and in a deeper way. And it helps you connect with other people in deeper and more effective ways. And in doing that, for me in business development and in building new relationships, it has led to more work, not just because I'm a coach and I have a title and I have clients that people can see that I've done the work, but navigating conversations more effectively and navigating relationships more effectively has taken me to the result that I want more frequently, which is a big piece for me about growing any business. You need people to say yes. You need people to engage.
I feel that ROI in every single coaching session. Well, not every single coach. In most of the coaching sessions, I had an experience where a friend that I've known for years asked me for a single session of coaching. And so we made those arrangements, and I've known her for a long time. And we went through this amazing coaching experience together. And I found out a few days later, she had gone back and enrolled in school, and it was that conversation, what we had co-created in that conversation, what had happened for her. You want to talk about ROI, the incredible sense of gratitude that I feel when a client has a shift in perspective and takes advantage of what they see, and they're just amazing. I mean, that's your ROI. It's every time there's a shift. It's every time somebody gets that smacked in the face look and says, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said that. Here's what's going to happen." It's amazing.
Thank you, Jennifer. These are some powerful questions. Thank you, audience. I'm noticing I could use a few more questions. So if there's anyone out there as a participant on this webinar today that would like to ask a question that hasn't been answered, you can type it in the chat on the bottom of your Zoom panel. I do have a question here from Carol. She's asking how much time is spent in Boulder, and she's also, in addition, asking, are there similarities between ontological coaching and neuro-linguistic programming? Please say a bit more about ontological coaching. Who would like to begin? Does anyone on the panel know about neuro-linguistic programming versus or in addition to ontological coaching? Okay.
I can answer
Okay,
some
please.
of it.
Okay.
I won't claim to be an expert in neuro-linguistic. The books I read, I get the sense that it's focused on our internal dialogue, stories you make, the way we speak in language, and how we communicate both to others and ourselves. And I would say we're much more complex than that. There's also moods and emotions. There's a body piece, there's a somatic piece to it. So the ontological work, which Newfield is focused, is much more holistic. It's much more transformative than just focusing on the language piece alone. Again, based on my limited understanding of neurolinguistic. So it's more powerful in my experience.
Thank you, Vinay. And do you want to speak to Jennifer or Adam, how much time is spent in Boulder for the course?
I already said it's not enough. We spent a week at the beginning, and then it's 3 to 4 months of distance learning, and then you go back for a second week, and then it's 3 to 4 more months of distance learning. And those weeks fly. But they're so amazing, and they're all day long, because we would go to lunch with the cohort and you'd end up talking to different people, and you'd go to dinner with different segments of the cohort and getting to know people. It's an all day long experience for 5 days. Very, very intense.
Thank you. So it is 4 months between those 2 5-days.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. There is a question that I overlooked a bit ago. It was from Deb. Do you have any advice for people entering the program in terms of how to take the most advantage of it? I hear you're talking about the importance of developing relationships through Newfield, taking advantage of the opportunity to do the self-work.
I love how she answered her own question. Absolutely. The best thing you can do to take advantage of this is be ready to, we talk in the program about beginner's mind, the idea that if you think you know it, you can't learn it. So being prepared to encounter crunchy, uncomfortable parts of yourself, being prepared to be vulnerable, being prepared to do work that you don't really understand as work yet, and do work in different ways because of that emotion and body component, because of the different kinds of ways in which you can stretch learning what there is to learn. Being prepared for what I can't prepare you for. That's the best way to take advantage of it.
Thank you. Adam.
Just listening to Jennifer talk and agreeing with everything that she's saying, because it resonates with me. And the one piece that came up was just go all in. Just be all into it. Vinay, you mentioned, prioritizing and making the time. And for me, I would say when you're out there, if you go through the program, just give everything you have, because you are going to get, and this was my experience, so I'm making an assessment, but you'll get a lot out of it. And the more you put in, the more you'll get out.
Thank you. Anyone else?
It's the relationships that you'll form. They will last forever. And as much you put into it. And also, it's not just the body of work, it's the community, and that you will tap into and leverage well beyond your program. You may be working with a client, you may be creating a workshop and you're wondering what to do and how to do it. You have a whole community to support you. You're not alone. To me, any coaching program is what we learn in the program, and equally, and sometimes even more important, is the community that's part of it. It's a very active community that's involved in serving people on an individual basis and in organizations. So it's what comes with the Newfield. To me, that is amazingly powerful. Yeah, and leverage it. And we're all here to help each other, lift each other. It's how much you tap into other people. Amazing things will happen as you do that.
Beautiful. We have about four more. Okay, go ahead, Jennifer.
One quick thing. Our cohort, we have some organizer types, and we met on Sunday afternoon for just to get together. We connected on social media before we went to Boulder, before we knew each other. There was something really wonderful about having 6 or 7 people that I already had a conversation with when I walked into that room. It made me less nervous, and I already had that sense of connection. So you have access to each other before you even get there. Reach out. If somebody has a similar background, I ended up coming in from the Denver airport with someone from Switzerland, and we had a great day. We'd never met. It was great. To being open to that, building that community quickly, or facilitating that for yourself can be a really good way to get in there.
Beautiful. Thank you. There are a lot of thank yous coming across the message to me, so I just want to mention that. Deb's thanking everyone for their answers, but I want to get back to a couple of questions before I do that. I have someone here, I don't know their first name. It says, what is the biggest impact this experience has had on your personal life in addition to the new employment opportunities? I know I've heard a little bit from each of you, but would you want to be more specific about the biggest impact? Like, what was maybe one of the biggest assessments you had that you were able to crack while in the program, or anything else that might arise for you?
Sure, I can share that. I think if I think back for many, many years, I was trying to change things on the outside. If I have more money, bigger job, bigger car, maybe better, different wife, better looking kids. I joke about it half jokingly, but it was always changing out there. And there came a point in my life, though, even though I was successful by all material standards, I wasn't feeling successful. And I came to this realization, maybe the issue isn't out there. Maybe it's the guy who's looking in the mirror. I got to change. But I didn't know what to change and how to change it. Since I came into this work, I've done my work at a deeper level, and I'm so much more at peace. I'm making better decisions, better relationships. Just so many things have changed because of it for me. Now am I not only successful materially, I feel more successful. And for me, that's precious.
Thank you, Vinay. That was funny, what you started with. or Adam?
I think for me, I wish I could bring my husband and my son in here to testify to this, but every once in a while I'll circle back to a habit and they'll look at me and say, wait, no, this is after Boulder. You're not supposed to be like that anymore. I have health outcomes. I have things that have changed. I've lost weight. I've lost a particularly annoying symptom of hearing my heartbeat in my ear because of pressure. So there's these tangibles, but the intangible is self-compassion. And this sense of the nicer I am to myself, the more I actually get done, the more actually wonderful things happen. And I love what Vinay was said about, it doesn't matter that whether I'm more successful or not, if I'm feeling it, then it's there, it's real. And so peace, I totally resonated with what Vinay said. Peace is the thing. I am a so much more peaceful person. My emotions come and they visit and they don't become who I am. They just inform me and then they go away. It's just an amazing way to live.
Yeah, one thing I'll share is I remember my daughter's an attorney, and for a long time she used to say, Dad, what you do is mumbo jumbo. And then she started to learn this work, and I saw a big transformation in her life. And what she said to me about a year ago, she said, everyone needs to go through this work. For me, that seal of approval coming from her said it all.
Beautiful. Thank you. I noticed that we're out of time, and there's been some amazing questions, and the panelists, your answers, I really appreciate the integrity and the joy coming through each of you that I feel. So we're going to close this in just a moment. I've been given permission from the panelists. If you would like to speak to them or email them, contact me. I have put the information into the chat. We thank you for this call today. We will be hosting another call in the future, and let us know how you enjoyed it and what you would have liked if there was something that was missing for you during this call. I thank you as Linda, the Director of Client and Community Relations, and I give great thanks for my fellow graduates of Newfield Network for joining me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.